The young woman stood uneasily, her face betraying a flicker of recognition. "You don't know me?" she asked hesitantly. "Sorry? Have we met before?" the man replied, his tone sharp. "You're a terrible actress," he scoffed, leaning closer. Song Eunje from Hyeonseon Middle School. Her thoughts spiraled. Damn it. I should have just run the moment I saw him. Morning sunlight streamed into the room as the interview began. "You're a junior majoring in mathematics at Chongseong University, correct?" "Yes, that's right," she answered, trying to regain her composure. The woman seated across from her, authoritative yet poised, continued, "Since you came here on a professor's recommendation, I have no reason to doubt your academic qualifications. Did you bring your student ID?" "Yes, here it is," she said, handing it over. The woman glanced briefly at the ID and handed her a document. "While you wait, read this contract and sign it." "Of course," she replied, her voice steady, though internally she marveled at the unexpected formality. She's too young to be a mother. Maybe she's the student's older sister? Her eyes scanned the contract, and her jaw nearly dropped. 3,000,000 a month. Security cameras? A garden? Bodyguards? Her thoughts raced as she processed the luxurious surroundings. "I knew this neighborhood was wealthy, but this is unbelievable." Excitement bubbled up within her. 3,000,000 a month. This is amazing. I don't even have to think twice. Her gaze shifted to the room, trying to imagine the kind of student she would be tutoring. He might be a little unusual, but if his parents like me, I'll be set for life. She straightened up, determined. I need this job. Memories of her financial struggles flashed through her mind. As the eldest daughter of a poor family, she had desperately turned to investments like stocks and lottery tickets, only to lose everything during the market crash. The few million ones she had painstakingly saved since childhood was gone in an instant. This is no time to dwell on the past, she thought firmly. She resolved to maintain a professional demeanor, practicing a polite smile in the mirror of her mind. He's younger than me, but he's my client, and clients are precious. The door creaked open, and she heard a sharp voice. "Why'd you take my car? And I told you not to wear shoes inside the house." Her heart sank. "Is that my new student?" The boy's tone was curt as he continued, complaining about losing a game despite spending money on in-game points. His mother, or so she presumed, chastised him. "Turn off the game. Listen when I'm speaking to you." Song Eunje observed the exchange silently. Maybe he doesn't get along with his sister. Or is he a delinquent? Then came the shocking revelation. "You're still as rude as ever," the woman said, her tone a mix of exasperation and authority. Eunje froze. She's his mom? Not his sister? But she looks so young. The boy rolled his eyes. "Who else is here, your lover, Ha Ju-won?" The mother's face reddened. "Your grandfather wants you to get tutored," she said, abruptly ending the conversation. Eunje took a deep breath. This is going to be interesting. The conversation in the grand living room unfolded with surprising calmness, despite the heated topic. "You'll learn math and English 3 times a week, 2 hours a day," the mother said firmly. The young man shrugged dismissively. "Just give me my car key." Although the tension was palpable, Song Eunje noticed that the household seemed oddly tranquil. Is this normal for them? Peaceful arguments? The mother pressed on. "If you want her car back, stop arguing and get tutored. Your grandfather wants you to master the basics before heading to America." At this, he scoffed. "I'm not going to America." Her patience wavered. "Can you please be reasonable? At least graduate high school." He leaned back lazily. "What's the point? I didn't even graduate middle school." Eunje froze, her optimism faltering. "He's not a middle school student? He's an adult?" Her rational mind tried to make sense of it. Maybe he was homeschooled. Then another thought surfaced. No, that's unlikely. Education is compulsory until middle school. It's practically impossible to not graduate. Her internal conflict grew as the meeting continued. Should I back out now? The mother interrupted her thoughts. "Wait. About the contract." "Sorry? I have a habit of signing contracts without reading them first," Eunje admitted sheepishly. "I was just about to go through it now." The mother's stern voice cut her off. The The penalty fee for violating the contract is worth twice your payment. You've already signed it. The weight of her impulsiveness hit her. She watched helplessly as the mother took the document. I hope my client is so furious he refuses tutoring today. Then came the dreaded call. Eunje, come and say hello. The vastness of the house seemed to grow as she reluctantly approached. Why do I feel even smaller now? Hello, she said, her voice steady despite her nerves. She was greeted by an imposing figure, tall, confident, and exuding arrogance. His sharp gaze made her recoil inwardly. He's looking at me like I'm beneath him. The memory of a horrible boy from her middle school days surged to the surface. He reminds me of someone, Lee Soo. Her thoughts were interrupted by the mother's firm voice. Lee Sooin, put your feet down. You'll ruin the desk. Her heart skipped a beat. That's right. His name was also Lee Sooin. Wait a minute. The young man's indifference continued. Just buy another one. The realization hit her like a thunderclap. No way. He's the Lee Sooin I know. The mother added casually. He's 22 years old. Just like you. This can't be real. This has to be a dream. Please tell me it's a dream. Song Yun's mind reeled as she stood before the tall, imposing figure. Lee Sooin from Hyeonseon Middle School. Memories of his reputation as Hyeonseon's dictator came flooding back, along with the stinging insults he used to hurl. His voice echoed in her mind. Your hair reminds me of a Lego minifigure. She clenched her fists. He's one of the reasons for my trauma. I never thought I'd meet him again, let alone like this. Introduce yourself, his mother prompted. My name is Song Yunje, she said cautiously, her voice steady despite her nerves, a junior majoring in math at Chongseong University. Her heart raced. He doesn't remember me, does he? He doesn't even seem interested. The mother broke the silence. Don't feel pressured. Just teach him middle school level math. I don't think I need to tell you that he doesn't know the basics. Eunje nodded hesitantly. It's not that I don't trust you, the mother added, but his grandfather requires proof. Don't forget to send a photo after each tutoring session to the number in the contract. A photo? She asked, startled. It's in Article 8 of the contract. Oh, yes, I remember now. As the conversation wrapped up, panic gripped her. Should I tell her I can't do this? A notification buzzed on her phone.
Ding.
The message was brief but decisive. Payment had already been sent to her account. Her heart sank. It's too late now. I have no choice. The penalty fee is too steep, and my worthless stocks can't cover it. If they find out I didn't even read the contract properly, I'll look so irresponsible. Forcing a smile, she straightened. I'll do my best, Mrs. Kong. Mrs. Kong turned to her son. Sooin, use this car for now. Where's mine? He snapped. You'll get it back after you finish your lessons. If you don't like it, walk. The tension in the air grew heavy, but Mrs. Kong dismissed it effortlessly. Eunje, you can head home now. Sooin will drive you. Her eyes widened in alarm. Oh, no, that's fine. I can take a cab. But her protests were futile. Moments later, she found herself seated in his car, her stomach churning. I was too scared to refuse. Determined to remain inconspicuous, she tried to slip into the back seat. What am I, your chauffeur? Sooin sneered. I'm sorry, she muttered, sliding into the passenger seat. Just drop me at the nearest subway station, please. As the car began to move, his casual tone turned sharp. Hey, you don't know me? Her breath caught. Sorry? Have we met before? His gaze hardened, and she could feel her facade cracking. You're a terrible actress, he said coldly. Song Yunje, from Hyeonseon Middle School. Her heart dropped.
Damn it.
I'm doomed. The ride continued in tense silence. At one point, he remarked, How is the cafeteria food? She blinked, caught off guard. Beats me. I got food at the convenience store. Later, during their first session, she tried her best to focus. She read aloud from a book while he lounged lazily. Suddenly, Kim Kyomji madly. His disinterest was palpable as he muttered, I bought ox bone soup. Why aren't you eating it? Her brow furrowed. Because this demon, she gestured toward him, said he could only sleep if I read to him. She paused, glancing at him. Is he asleep? A wave of his hand dismissed her query. Why'd you stop? Her stomach growled as she glanced at the clock. It's 12:48 p.m. If I hurry, I can still grab lunch. Lunch, she stammered, rising to leave. But his indifference cut her off. Cafeteria food sucks. I'm not eating it. I wasn't talking about you. She blurted. My lunch. Mine. The absurdity of the situation only deepened her exhaustion. This is going to be harder than I thought. Eunje stared at Sooin, exasperation bubbling to the surface. Why do you always insist that I read to you? You could ask the class president or the vice president instead. He leaned back casually, as if her protest was irrelevant. I can only sleep if you do it. She sighed in frustration. Can I at least read an English book, so I can study while I'm at it? I hate English, he muttered bluntly.
Why?
All you have to do is listen, she countered. I'm sick and tired of English. Just hearing it irritates me. Her lips quirked into a smirk. That's probably because you can't understand it. You're just like Hungseon Daewonga. His expression twisted into confusion. What's that? Hungseon Daewonga. Realizing it was better not to provoke him, she quickly deflected. Forget it. She reminded herself to tread carefully. Nothing good comes from getting on his bad side. He has a terrible personality, and his wealthy family will go to great lengths to protect him. Even among the affluent students and teachers, he was notorious, a troublemaker everyone preferred to avoid. When lunchtime came, Eunje's stomach grumbled. Wasn't today's lunch good? Someone asked nearby. Yeah, the fried fish cake was awesome. Another chimed in. Her mouth watered at the thought. Troublemaker or not, fried fish cake sounds great. But then reality struck. Wait, I already paid for lunch. I'm going to eat the food I paid for. I don't need his permission for that. Determined, she stood. I need to eat lunch. I have after-school classes, and I've already paid for my food. Sooin blocked her path. Don't go. I'll buy you bread instead. Her patience snapped. And who's going to get it? Me, of course. Her anger flared. Sooin, you jerk. Why do I have to care whether you sleep or not? I hate literature. And people need food to survive. I'm going to eat food. But suddenly, everything went black. When she jolted awake, her heart was racing. It was just a dream.
Phew.
Memories of the previous day came flooding back, making her groan. Yesterday was shocking. It would have been nice if it had all been nothing but a dream. Then her phone buzzed with a notification. She glanced at the screen. Kong Giju deposited 3 million won. Her heart sank. It wasn't a dream. Eunje groggily opened her eyes, glancing at the clock. What time is it? She wondered, squinting at the digits. Her phone screen confirmed the worst. 7:20 p.m. 7 missed calls. I slept through the entire day again. She groaned, rubbing her temples. Damn insomnia. I'm screwed. Meanwhile, Mrs. Kong spoke apologetically into her phone. I'm sorry. It seems he won't be able to attend tutoring again today. The person on the other end sighed. This is already the third time. I'll make sure to talk to him so you're not wasting your time. It's fine, Mrs. Kong, the tutor responded cheerfully. Honestly, I'm grateful. She stifled a relieved laugh. Something must have come up.
Woohoo.
No tutoring today. As she left, her mind raced with optimism. I just need to do this for a month, right? This might be the perfect job. But her relief was short-lived. Eunje, wait. She froze, turning slowly. Why does this feel like trouble? Why don't we grab a cup of coffee? So much for the perfect job, she thought bitterly as she followed the suggestion. At the cafe, her frustration grew. What do you want? Your usual sweet hot chocolates? Actually, iced Americano with 2 espresso shots, please, she snapped, her sarcasm barely contained. Hot chocolate? Just seeing his face makes me boil with anger. As the drinks arrived, another figure appeared. Oh, caramel macchiato for me? She turned to see a familiar face, Hwang Sungbin. Sungbin Seonbi. Her expression hardened. He's my college senior. And my ex-boyfriend. We broke up 3 months ago. He greeted her with a wide grin. Your hair looks great, as always. Still using that shampoo? She barely resisted rolling her eyes. What do you want, Sungbin? Undeterred, he continued rambling.
How's your mom?
Are you still looking after Junj? And your stocks, making good profits? He still has the habit of rambling when he's at a disadvantage. Her patience wore thin as he tried to segue into their past relationship. Maybe we could get back together, he suggested sheepishly. After all, we're teaching the same student now. It must be destiny. Destiny, she repeated, her voice icy. I wanted to hear your excuse, but this was a waste of time. She stood abruptly. I'm leaving. Wait, Eunje. She ignored him, striding out of the cafe. Later that evening, she found herself in an elevator with Sungbin. Her nerves prickled as the lift descended. What's wrong, Eunje? There are no floor buttons, she murmured uneasily. That's because it's for penthouse access only, he explained nonchalantly. The doors opened, revealing the 38th floor. You'd need to win the lottery to live in a place like this, she thought, stepping out. Even then, it might not be enough. As they entered, an impatient voice greeted them. You're late. So this is how he demands we come running. Through veiled threats, she mused grimly. The moment they stepped into the penthouse, Sooin's sharp voice greeted them. You're late. Hurry up. Eunje exchanged a glance with the other tutor and replied, We took a cab to get here as fast as we could. Besides, you're the one who didn't show up on time. Sooin glared at her, but didn't argue. Turning his attention to the man beside her, he asked bluntly, Who are you? Hello. I'm James Huang, your English tutor. The man replied enthusiastically. I'm a senior majoring in English at Chongseong University and will be heading to graduate school soon. James continued to ramble, sharing his qualifications. I lived in London until I was 16, so I'm bilingual. Your mother made a great choice hiring me. Learning English with a British accent could be very helpful for business. Why is he looking at me like that? Did I do something wrong? Thought Eunje nervously as Sooin's expression darkened. Interrupting James's monologue, Sooin snapped, Forget it. I doubt you'll teach me anything when you can't even speak Korean properly. Just take out the books for the photos. James frowned, muttering under his breath about manners, but obeyed. As the tutors prepared for the session, Sooin leaned back, smirking. I heard Kong Hee-ju hired a servant to clean up after her mess in exchange for hiring his father, whose business went under. Was that servant you? Eunje's temper flared. They're going to start fighting. Before she could intervene, another voice broke in. That's enough, you two. Sooin's expression softened slightly. Sooin, don't you want your car back? And Appa, think about your father's job. The tension simmered down, though the atmosphere remained charged. Eventually, they moved on to the task at hand, taking staged photos. James grinned nervously. All right, smile. Title, Teacher and Student. He quickly snapped the pictures, adding, And one with me too. Title, Capitalism. Once the photos were sent off, James stretched, ready to leave. We're done here. I'm off. But as he headed toward the door, Sooin stopped him. Where do you think you're going? There are still 17 minutes left. James sighed.
Fine.
Try to wrap it up quickly, Eunje, he said before leaving her alone with Sooin. The silence was broken by a loud growl.
What was that sound?
Sooin asked, raising an eyebrow. Embarrassed, Eunje stammered. I am not sure. Maybe stress? Sooin tilted his head. You must be hungry. No, really, it's nothing, she protested, though her stomach betrayed her again. He gestured toward the kitchen. Just grab something from the fridge. Reluctantly, she opened the fridge and gasped. Sushi? Grilled whole chicken? Do people normally have all this in their refrigerator? Sooin appeared beside her, holding out a plate. You like meat, right? Eat this. Her eyes widened. That's clearly an expensive steak. He smiled faintly. Wait at the table. I'll heat it up in the microwave. Panic surged through her. Wait. You're going to microwave it like that? It'll explode. Really? He asked, seemingly unconcerned. I'll do it, she offered, grabbing the plate from him. As she prepared the food, Sooin set the table, carefully laying out silverware. When they finally sat down, he gestured at the meal. Eat before it gets cold. Tentatively, she took a bite, her suspicions still lingering. Why is he suddenly being so nice? This is weird. Did he poison it? Noticing her hesitation, he asked, "What's wrong? Is the steak too tough? Want me to cut it for you?" "No," she replied quickly. "It's so tender I can cut it easily." Satisfied, Sooin leaned back and changed the topic. Eunje, why did you transfer to a different school?"
Tell me.
Eunje's younger brother's voice broke through her thoughts. "Nuna, Dad's in the hospital right now." She remembered those difficult times vividly. Her father, a delivery truck driver, had been in an accident. Her family, already struggling financially, was pushed into a deeper crisis. Despite their dire situation, her mother had insisted she attend a private school to build connections. But eventually, they had no choice but to make her transfer. "When I returned to school," Sooin said, his tone unusually thoughtful, "you were gone." She nodded. "I had to move because of an urgent situation." "That's right," he replied. "You didn't go to school much back then either. Wasn't it because you broke your arm? Are you okay now?" "Yeah," Sooin said with a slight smirk. "I injured it teaching that bastard Han Jaewon a lesson. A name I'd rather not think about." Eunje hesitated before asking, "Is that why you couldn't graduate middle school?" "It's not that I couldn't," he corrected her sharply. "I didn't. And for the record, I'm officially a high school graduate now." "Oh, okay," she said, unsure how to respond. "It wasn't rough for me," he added nonchalantly. "I was happy to not have to go to school." She thought to herself, it must be nice to have that kind of privilege. Even with a bad attendance record, he still graduated on paper. Being wealthy does make a difference. As they ate, her phone buzzed, and Sooin noticed.
You're getting a call, he said.
"Yeah," she muttered, ignoring it. "Aren't you going to answer?" he asked, raising an eyebrow. "I don't have to," she replied curtly, continuing her meal. But the calls didn't stop. About 15 minutes later, even James looked uncomfortable. Whoever is calling you seems persistent," he said awkwardly. "Shouldn't you pick up? We need to start the lesson." Sooin let out an annoyed sigh and finally answered. His tone quickly turned sharp. "Why did your English tutor ask me to install a security camera in your house? Did you threaten him? Don't tell me you hit him." The voice on the other end grew louder, clearly scolding him. Eunje, realizing it was his mother, whispered, "I'll wait outside," and left the room as their heated exchange continued. When he returned, Sooin was visibly irritated. "Let's get this over with. You said you'd teach me math, right?" "Yes, let's start," she replied hesitantly. The lesson was brief, but intense. By the end, Sooin stretched and said, "We'll speed things up next time. Be prepared." Yeah, she replied, packing her things. As they walked toward the door, Sooin glanced at her. "Want a ride?"
Huh?
"And no, it's fine. The subway station is right there," she stammered. "Don't be late for the next session," he said before heading back inside. Should I save his number under his name instead of Mr. Client? She thought as she walked away. Her thoughts wandered to their earlier conversation. He even remembered that I transferred schools. I thought he wasn't interested in me. Why does it feel like I've aged 10 years in one day? Later that evening, her mother called to check in. "How's tutoring going?" "Is it tiring?" her mother asked. "No, it's fine," Eunje replied. Her mother shifted the conversation to her younger brother, Junj. "How's he doing?" "He's not studying much, and he doesn't have much time left before graduation." "He'll start soon," she assured her. The topic changed to finances, and her mother sighed. "I don't have enough money for his academy fees." "I sent you all I could last month," she said, frustration creeping into her voice. "I have rent to pay too." "I know. I wasn't asking for more," her mother replied quickly. "By the way, how are things with Sungbin?" Her stomach sank. I should have hung up before she brought him up. "You two didn't fight, did you?" her mother prodded. "No, it's fine," she said, eager to end the call. While riding the subway, her thoughts wandered again. But when the train's doors began closing, she snapped back to reality. Wait, she cried, barely making it through. A message popped up on her phone. The person who found her phone is waiting at the next station. At the next stop, she spotted someone holding her phone. Hi. You're the one who found my phone, right? She asked, smiling gratefully. Yes, that's me, he said with a polite nod. Eunje felt overwhelmed with gratitude. Thank you so much, she said, clutching her phone tightly. The man smiled warmly. I should be thanking you. I'm glad I could help my fan. Later, after sending money to her mother, she sighed. Okay, Mom, I just transferred it. After paying rent, it's instant noodles for me for a while. Her mind lingered on her struggles. She'd lost her part-time job due to the recession, and finding another wouldn't be easy. Every day seemed monotonous, but today felt especially draining. Suddenly, a cheerful voice from the radio interrupted her thoughts. Rough day, huh? Here's a song to cheer you up. It's called I'm By Your Side. As the song played, every lyric seemed to comfort her weary heart. It was moments like this that made her adore Temo, her favorite singer. He'd become her source of strength. Eunje blinked, realizing the man standing in front of her was none other than Temo himself. I can't believe my bias is in front of me. Is this a dream? Am I still asleep on the subway? Temo noticed her flustered state. You're my fan, right? I saw my photo as your wallpaper. Her cheeks burned. Why, yes. I am your fan. Temo laughed softly, his voice as melodic as his songs. Would you like to take a picture together? Her heart raced. See, could we? Really? Of course, he replied, his smile dazzling. After taking the photo, he handed her a piece of paper. Here, this is my number. Send me the photo, okay? Go home safely. As he walked away, she stood frozen, clutching her phone. I'm not dreaming, am I? Could he have been a ghost? Her doubts evaporated when she later watched a viral video titled Possessed Woman at Subway Station. Relieved, she smiled. He was real, but doubt crept in again. Why would someone like Temo use the subway? Is this some kind of hidden camera prank? Shrugging off her worries, she whispered, it was the best day ever. The following week, during a tutoring session, Sooin's voice pulled her back to reality. Song Eunje, why do you keep looking at your phone? What about our lesson? Startled, she tucked her phone away. It's nothing. Are you done solving the math problems? I finished a while ago, he replied flatly. Focus, will you? She chided, embarrassed. The truth was, she'd spent the weekend debating whether to send the photo to Temo. What if the number didn't work? What if it was fake? But deep down, she convinced herself, my Temo is special. There's no way he'd give me a fake number, right? Brushing aside her hesitation, she returned to tutoring. You got this one right, she exclaimed, surprised. You already know how to solve it? I just applied what you taught me today, Sooin said nonchalantly. That's amazing. It's no big deal, he shrugged. Just as they were settling back into the lesson, Sooin's phone rang. Aren't you going to answer? She asked.
No.
I already talked to him earlier, he said, silencing the call. Curious, she glanced at the screen. Who's Lee Ju-hyung? If you're not going to answer, you should hang up. It's my father, he replied bluntly. Her eyes widened. Your father? You shouldn't hang up on him like that. Maybe you should call him back. Sooin hesitated, but eventually dialed back. She noted, for someone so stubborn, he listened surprisingly well when I asked him to do something. After the call, she resumed checking his answers. You got most of these right. Let's just go over the ones you missed. But Sooin interrupted. Let's call it a day.
What?
We still have an hour left, she protested, noticing his upset expression. It doesn't matter. Let's stop here, he insisted. Is it because you don't want to solve the ones you got wrong? There aren't many of them, she asked, confused. It's not that, he muttered. Then should we try easier problems? I even brought some for elementary students. Elementary students? He snapped. Yeah, she said cautiously. I told you I've already learned all this, he interrupted. Are you going to keep looking down on me? Eunje froze, unsure how to respond to his sudden outburst. Why is he always so defensive? She wondered. Eunje panicked, her mind racing. What do I do? She thought, glancing at the makeup smudge on Sooin's shirt. I'll pretend to comfort him while secretly trying to clean it off. Feigning innocence, she smiled. Of course, I'm not looking down on you. Hear me out in math, the basics are the most important. Let's go over it again. Sooin sighed, clearly annoyed. I get it already. Stop. Undeterred, she continued. Just a little more. That's enough, he muttered firmly. Okay, she relented, but as she leaned in to inspect the stain, Sooin suddenly snapped, Song Eunje. I told you to stop. Caught off guard, Eunje froze, realizing how close they were. Flustered, she stammered, I am sorry, before tripping over her own feet and falling with a yelp. Are you okay? Sooin asked, concern flickering in his usually stoic expression. I'm fine, Eunje replied quickly, her cheeks burning with embarrassment. Without another word, Sooin stood up. Go home. And don't follow me again. Her shoulders drooped. Okay, she murmured, glancing at the persistent stains still on his shirt. It's still there? Later, as she deliberated over dinner, Eunje muttered to herself, bulgogi lunchbox or bibimbap. Maybe I should get something with veggies. Her thoughts were interrupted by the familiar ringtone of her phone. She stared at the screen, her heart skipping a beat. Why is he calling me? We still have plenty of time before our lesson. Answering hesitantly, she said, Hi, Sooin. Do you need something? His voice was abrupt. Where are you? Why? I have important plans, he replied flatly. I'm ditching our session and just taking a photo with you. Hurry up, he interrupted. I already left home. You don't even know where I am, she protested. I'm across the Yilliang World building. Wait for me. I'll be there in 10 minutes. Sighing, Eunje grabbed her bag. On her way, she paused at a convenience store. Should I get him some milk? Maybe chocolate milk. If he doesn't want it, I'll just drink both, she reasoned. The streets were unusually crowded, making it difficult to spot Sooin. As she scanned the area, a voice called out, Hey, wait for me. Distracted, she didn't notice the bicycle in her path until it was too late. She bumped into it, causing it to wobble precariously before toppling over. Oops, my bad, she muttered, bending down to inspect it. It's a really old bike. Is it okay? An older man stormed toward her, his face red with anger. Excuse me, young lady. Why, yes. You destroyed my bicycle. What are you going to do about it? Startled, she stammered. I'm sorry. I accidentally bumped into it. Accidentally? He roared. I saw you push it on purpose with my own 2 eyes. No, I didn't, she protested. I bumped into it because someone slammed into me. How dare you talk back to an elder? He bellowed, cutting her off. And no, I wasn't talking back, she insisted, her voice trembling. It really was an accident. An accident? He sneered. I saw you deliberately push my bicycle. You youngsters are all the same these days. Rude and disrespectful. Eunje sighed, feeling helpless. The small crowd around them watched but offered no help. How dare you sigh while I'm talking to you? The man snapped. Rude people like you deserve a beating. Suddenly, a familiar voice cut through the commotion. Eunje? She turned to see Sooin approaching, his expression unreadable. Why didn't you answer your phone? He asked calmly, as if the chaos didn't faze him at all. The old man glared at Sooin, demanding, And who are you? Unfazed, Sooin crossed his arms. I'll let you off the hook this time, he said coldly. The man hesitated, then quickly disappeared into the crowd. Eunje blinked in surprise, still processing the situation. Meanwhile, Sooin glanced at her and said, My phone's charging in the car. We'll use yours.
To do what? She stammered.
To take a picture? Before she could fully comprehend, he said, I don't have time. Just get in my car. Wait, where are we going? I thought we just needed to take a photo. We're headed to Yeongjam in Jeollado, Sooin replied matter-of-factly. Jeollado, she exclaimed in disbelief. Why? If I don't get there in 3 hours, I'll lose 10 million won, he said flatly. I made a bet. I don't care. Let me out. But the car sped forward, leaving her little choice. She slumped in her seat, muttering to herself, why am I going all the way to Jeollado? I just came out to buy dinner. How did I end up here? A few minutes into the drive, Sooin glanced at her. You have something on your face, he said casually. You're such a klutz. Startled, Eunje quickly brushed at her face. It's dangerous. Look ahead. It's on automatic driving mode. Relax, he replied nonchalantly. Wait, I thought your phone was broken, she asked suspiciously. So did I, he said, picking up the device and fiddling with it. Is this the answer button? Found it. He pressed the button, and a voice came through. Eunje, it's me, Sungbin Appa. Eunje froze. Wait. Eunje? What's that sound? Are you at a club? Why are you calling me now? She hissed. That's none of your concern, Sungbin said calmly.
Your mother called me.
She's coming to Seoul next week and wants the three of us to have dinner together. I'll make reservations at the usual place. Eunje groaned in frustration. I can't believe my mom did that. I should have told her about our breakup. Forget it. There's no way I'm eating with you. Bye. Okay, I understand you need time to think. Found it. Sooin exclaimed, cutting off the call. You should toss out that useless phone and get a new one, he said as if it were the simplest solution.
Huh?
Right now? How is that possible? Within minutes, they pulled up to a mobile store. Sooin marched in, grabbed a phone and said, This one. Are you paying in installments? The clerk asked. It's all paid for, he said firmly. Eunje stared at him, dazed. What for? To enjoy it, he replied nonchalantly. Back in the car, she held the new phone, marveling at its sleek design. It's the same as yours. Thanks, by the way. For earlier. And for this. Whatever, he muttered. You should get some sleep. You've been yawning nonstop. She shook her head. I'm fine. I'd feel bad falling asleep while you're driving. 15 minutes later, Sooin glanced over to find her fast asleep.
He smirked.
Seriously? I thought you said you'd feel bad. Adjusting her seat slightly, he murmured, Sleep tight, Song Eunje. Hours later, they arrived at their destination. A crowd had gathered outside. As they stepped out of the car, a cheerful voice called out, Did you get a new car? It's awesome. I came to see you, Sooin. Turning, Eunje saw a woman approach. Oh, there are a lot of people here, she mumbled. The woman grinned.
Who are you?
I'm Lim Jaina. I sat across from you last time. So you're Seo Jinsung's girlfriend, Sooin remarked. Not anymore. We broke up ages ago, Jaina said breezily. Can you give me a ride back to Seoul? I'll buy you a drink when we get there. Let go, Sooin said curtly, brushing her off. Ugh, seriously. Why are you playing hard to get? Another voice interjected. Dude, be nice. She really wanted to see you. Eunje looked around, feeling out of place. Are they Sooin's friends? They all seem around his age. Her gaze landed on a familiar face. Han Jae-won, she whispered. Hey, how'd you charm Lee Sooin? One of the girls asked, sizing Eunje up. Aside from your somewhat decent looks, there's really nothing special about you. And your hairstyle? It's tacky. Eunje sighed, feeling the sting of the comment. How else could a girl win a guy's heart? Oh, well, there is one way, the girl replied with a smirk, and Eunje immediately remembered the disgusting look Lee Sooin had given her that day. She shook her head and muttered, I'm off. Lee Sooin, don't follow me, or things will get ugly, she warned, walking away. Back in the car, Eunje looked out the window, still shaken by the conversation. Is she still sleeping? Sooin asked, glancing over at her. What's wrong, Eunje? Startled, she snapped back to reality.
Oops.
Sorry. Do you feel better now? He asked, his tone softer. It's nothing. If you're done, let's head back, she said, trying to avoid talking about it. Are you really okay? Yeah, but do you still hang out with your middle school friends?
Sometimes. Why?
Eunje hesitated for a moment before responding. Nothing. It's just of all the people there, Han Jae-won is the only one from our middle school. Don't tell me. Before she could finish her thought, Sooin reached over and grabbed the strawberry milk she had bought earlier. Give me that. Here, she handed it to him, slightly confused. As Sooin got out of the car, Eunje's eyes widened. I knew it. He's going to give me a ride. Did I not tell you to stop being such a sleaze bags? Eunje muttered to herself. The drive dragged on, and by the time they reached her neighborhood, it was already the middle of the night. You can drop me off here, she said, eager to get out of the car. I'll drop you off at your place, Sooin insisted. Your car won't fit in the alley. It's too narrow, she replied, a little frustrated. Thanks, she said, climbing out of the car. Why are you getting out? Sooin called after her. It's late. It's too dangerous for you to walk alone, he said firmly, but Eunje brushed off his concern. I'm fine, she insisted. As they walked toward her house, Sooin casually asked, Why did you grow your hair out? It used to be short in middle school. My hair's? Eunje looked at him, surprised by the question. You looked cuter with a bob, Sooin continued. Remember? I even complimented you, saying your hair looked like a Lego minifigure. That was a compliment? Eunje asked, confused. Anyway, get home safely, he said, changing the subject. Thanks for walking me all the way here, she replied, a soft smile playing on her lips. Later, Sooin said, turning to leave. Eunje paused, watching him go before shaking her head. Why did he do that? It was a beautiful day, the sun shining over a luxurious garden. The air smelled fresh, and a spread of fancy food sat on the table, yet the atmosphere was awkward. 1 hour earlier, Lee Sooin had invited her to his grandfather's house. It was a great joy for me to spend time with you, he had said before falling asleep. Eunje shook her head, still trying to comprehend the situation. He really fell asleep. He had mentioned he could only fall asleep if someone read to him, a habit from their middle school days that still intrigued her. What are you doing? Sooin asked suddenly. I mean, you said you had insomnia. So, Eunje trailed off, unsure of how to handle the situation. Since you're up, I'm going to leave. Already? Sooin asked, sounding surprised. Eunje sighed. I stayed an hour longer to read to you. I'm starving. Besides, the popular lunchboxes at convenience stores sell out early. Sooin raised an eyebrow. Do you want to eat with me? Eat where? At the best Korean restaurant in the country, Sooin replied. Eunje blinked, realizing you didn't tell me that was your grandfather's house. The housekeeper here makes the best food. Try it. Eunje hesitated, then decided, yeah, I might as well eat since I'm already here. Later, they were joined by Sooin's tutor, who seemed irritated by Sooin's blunt comments. Why did you bring your tutor here? Eunje asked. I already ate lunch. The tutor shot back, visibly annoyed. You have a very rude way of speaking. You should learn manners instead of math. Eunje tried to excuse herself from the awkward situation, but as she watched the interaction, she realized there was more tension between Sooin and his grandfather than she had originally thought. I'll wait outside, Eunje said, stepping away. Meanwhile, the conversation continued. Sooin and his grandfather were discussing something that seemed serious, particularly about his mother and studying abroad. I feel like there's something complicated going on, Eunje thought, feeling a sense of unease. Sooin, let's eat. Eunje looked up at his cheerful tone. Again?
Why?
Didn't you eat already? Not really. Aren't you hungry?
Sooin asked.
This time it'll be my treat. Do you like tteokbokki? Eunje smiled despite herself. Sure, lead the way. Sooin grinned. You'll be surprised how yummy it is.